नमस्कार. अंतरिक्ष अप एंड अवेत सगळ्यांक येवकार. आज आमचो एक स्पेशल एपिसोड आसा, एक स्पेशल सायंटिस्टाक आनी मनशाक डेडिकेटेड. 2015 हें वर्स आसा 100 years ऑफ रिलेटिविटी. सर आल्बर्ट आयन्स्टायन हांणी जी व्हडली थियरी दिल्ली सायन्सान ताचे इन रिलेशन टू दॅट ते आमी सेलेब्रेट करीत आसात. आणि गेल्या एपिसोडान जर तुम्ही पळयलां आसतलें सर आल्बर्ट आयन्स्टायन हांची लायफ आमी कवर केली, तांची इम्पॉर्टंट कंट्रिब्युशन सायन्साक कितें आसा तें आमी पळयलें. आयचो एपिसोड वॉज स्पेशल डेडिकेटेड टू रिलेटिविटी आसा आणि आमचो रिसोर्स पर्सन हे एपिसोडाकूय सेम फ्रॉम लास्ट एपिसोड आसा. परत येवकार करता राज तुका आमच्या प्रोग्रामांत. सो आमच्या बरोबर आसा आज राज कुंकळकार. राज कुंकळकार इंटिग्रेटेड MSc डिग्री इन थियोरेटिकल फिजिक्स. हे खूपच म्हाका दिसता हेवी हो टॉपीक, हो करियर म्हणून परस्यू करता. बिट्स पिलानी हांगचो तो स्टुडंट आसा आणि इन टू फ्युचर ही सीज हिज फ्युचर इन टू एस्ट्रॉनॉमी, एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स, जे सगळें आमी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड समजतात तातूंत तो आपलो फ्युचर समजता. इज अ इंटेन्सली डिवोटेड आणि सायंटिफीक थिंकींग पर्सन अशें म्हणलें जाता. सो राज, आमी आमचो हो एपिसोड स्पेशली तुका आपयला टू डेडिकेट टू 100 years ऑफ रिलेटिविटी टू आयन्स्टायन, बिकॉज यू आर डेडिकेटेड टू आयन्स्टायन अँड हीज थियरीज. तर डायरेक्टली आमी सेलिब्रेट हो वर्स कित्याक करतात हें आमकां सांग. वॉट एक्झॅक्टली इज दिस सेलिब्रेशन फॉर?
So a brief history is that in the year 1905, Albert Einstein put forth the theory of special relativity, and it took him 10 years. After 10 years, he gave the theory of general relativity, which was a build-up on his previous work. And that theory of relativity has kind of changed our perspective.
What changes?
How we view the universe. And that is why we celebrate this year, that is 2015, as 100 years of general relativity.
जेन्ना रिलेटिविटी हाजे बद्दल आमी उलयतात, थियरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी वीच इज अ इंटेन्सली डीप थियरी, तातूंत एक कन्सेप्ट आसा क्लासिकल रिलेटिविटी. सो एक्सप्लेन कर इजिली, इन इजी लँग्वेज, कितें आसा क्लासिकल रिलेटिविटी?
Classical relativity was the way of looking at things that was there before Einstein's work came about. It is very simple to understand. If you are standing on the road, say, and you are looking at me coming to you in a car which is traveling at a certain speed, and I throw a ball at you, the speed that the ball will have will be the sum or the addition of the speed of the car that I am traveling in and the speed at which I threw the ball from my viewpoint. And when you catch it, the velocity at which you will catch the ball will be the sum of both. Aggregate, yeah. It's simple addition. But now comes about a very interesting part. This guy called Maxwell, he gave the theory of light, or basically theory of electromagnetism. And in that, the equations told us that light had a certain speed. And later on, it was observed that light travels at the same speed in any reference frame. Now, this statement is Earth kide. It means that just the way I threw a ball at you, and the ball's velocity when you caught it was the sum of the car's velocity and the velocity at which I threw the ball.
Ball's velocity increased.
Yeah, but if I had a light, if I had a torch in my hand, say, and torch mali suppose agar tujhe, the speed at which light travels from my perspective and the speed at which the light travels to you will be the same. It won't be an addition of the car's velocity and the velocity at which I see the light.
Anything external cannot increase or decrease
the velocity of light. Even if you are running or even if you are accelerating, you will always observe the speed of light to be the same.
3 lakh kilometers per second.
Yes.
Classical relativity. Let's start with some absolutes that we need to accept. 1. There is no such thing as absolute motion or absolute rest. Objects move relative to each other. For example, look at the truck with 2 kids playing catch. The truck is moving at a constant speed of 50 miles per hour, but as the kids are also moving with it at 50 miles per hour, they could easily think that they are standing still. When the children throw the ball at 10 miles per hour, they observe that the ball they have thrown is moving at 10 miles per hour. But their little brother, who is not on the truck and is standing still, has observed that the ball has moved at 60 miles per hour. He has added both the speed of the truck and the speed of the ball together. But is the little brother really standing still? No. The Earth is constantly in motion, the Sun is constantly in motion, and the galaxy is constantly in motion. Therefore, nothing is ever at absolute rest or absolute motion. Things just move relative to each other. This is classical relativity.
Light will only travel at 3 lakh kilometers per second.
Exactly. And because of this, very interesting things come about. Like तुम्ही ऐकायला असतले की length contraction,
time dilation.
म्हणून असता. Now what happens?
What is this?
Length contraction is that if I have a car traveling by me at a certain speed which is comparable to the speed of light, that means a very very fast car. इतलो फास्ट
3 लाख किलोमीटर पर सेकंड.
एक्झॅक्टली इतलो फास्ट होता त्यो गाडी अजून पण तयार करून आम्ही पण
theoretically
if there was such a car or there was such an object which is moving so fast, it would appear to have
length contracted.
That is, it will appear to be shorter than it actually is for the person who's sitting inside the car. So that is the difference. This all happens because nature has to respect the fact that light has to travel at a constant speed for any observer. And time dilation jo kira asa, like
nothing, even nature cannot change the speed of light.
No.
Nature has to adjust
itself
to accommodate the speed of light.
The speed of light, yes. And time dilation is effect wherein the watch, say that the driver of the car will be wearing, the time for him will appear to be slower.
Means if you approach the speed of light.
When I am looking at him, if my watch will be running faster than this, than the running of his watch, that is, time for him will appear to me as going slower. But for him it will be the same. For him, his clock will tick the way it always did.
So it is a way of looking in relation to something else.
Yes, it is all about comparing quantities.
Relativity म्हणजे comparison.
Comparing quantities and seeing what quantities do not change, so that we can use those in physics.
Time dilation. The second thing we need to accept is that the speed of light is the same for all observers. So, let's imagine a beam of light being reflected between two mirrors. Let's replicate this setup so we have another beam of light being reflected between another set of mirrors, but this time the mirrors are moving close to the speed of light. We can see in the moving set of mirrors that the beam of light is moving a greater distance. Now, let's put a couple of people into this scenario. Meet Alex. He sits inside the moving set of mirrors, and Bill sits inside the stationary set of mirrors. The speed of light must be the same for both Alex and Bill, and their light beams must hit the bottom mirror after the same amount of time has passed. But, as Alex's light beam is covering a longer distance, how is that possible? Well, the only way for that to work is if time for Alex slows down. Look at the clock hand. Notice how Alex's clock hand is moving much more slowly compared to Bill's. Time for Alex has slowed, which allows his light beam to travel a greater distance. Look at it this way. Speed equals distance divided by time. As Alex's distance is more, the value of his time must be more. Or rather, Alex's 1 minute actually turns out to be longer than Bill's 1 minute when you compare the two. Time has slowed down for Alex. This is called time dilation. This is quite a hard concept to grasp because it seems to go against what we experience on a practical level. But to understand the theory of relativity, you must stop thinking of time as a fixed unit for everyone. Time is relative. Length contraction. In the previous section, we spoke about how the speed of light remains the same for Alex and Bill because while the distance Alex's light beam travels is more, his time has dilated. However, distance and time don't increase by the exact same amount. In fact, time doesn't actually dilate enough to account for the speed to remain the same for both boys. Something else happens. Length contraction. When objects are moving close to the speed of light, not only does time slow down, but the object itself contracts. This is called length contraction. So in this scenario, Alex and his mirrors are actually smaller than we thought, and therefore the distance the light beam has to travel is actually smaller than we thought also. In conclusion, time dilation and length contraction work together to ensure that the speed of light remains the same for both Alex and Bill. Confused? Don't worry if you don't grasp all of this immediately. Remember, it was the most brilliant scientist of the 20th century who put forward this theory.
So हे length contraction and time dilation ने मातशें simplify जालें that length, space, area can change and time can slow down if you try to cross the speed of light. So or approach the speed of light. म्हणजे nothing can cross the speed of light. हो आजो moral of the story.
Yes.
Okay. ते जालें. आता आयन्स्टायनाचो एक सगळ्यान रेवोल्युशनरी कन्सेप्ट तो मातसो एक्सप्लेन करचो पडटलो एट दिस स्टेज. प्लीज एक्सप्लेन स्पेस टाइम.
Now that is a very interesting question. जशें की आमी the previous example explain केल्लें आसा, Newton, another great scientist, what he thought of time being was that it's a very absolute thing, that time for me and time for you ticks at the same rate.
Time.
Time is a stage wherein all the motion happens in space.
Time is fixed.
Time is absolute.
Absolute. अशें न्यूटन म्हणटालो. But to respect the constancy of speed of light that Einstein stumbled upon, he came across this very beautiful idea, the idea that has given him all the fame that he has got right now. It is unifying space and time. म्हणजे space आणि time म्हणजे अंतरिक्ष आणि वेळ, these two things are not separate.
Are not separate. Time is as the way time is not absolute. In other words, time is no longer absolute. It is a part of space and time, and you can easily go from between one to the other. So it's a same quantity basically.
It is one unit.
It's one whole block.
Space time.
It's not that time is completely different from space.
Okay.
And this brings about a very interesting way of looking at things. The way you perceive space and time depends on your motion, depends on what your velocity is and how you're moving in space time. Your motion decides how you see space and time changing.
Okay.
So that is a basic idea of space time and special relativity.
Okay.
This is all thanks to respecting the constancy of speed of light.
In 1905, Einstein published his theory of special relativity, which explored the link between space and time.
In Einstein's view, there isn't really a separate thing. There's space and then there's time. But there's just one thing, space-time, that we all live in.
He thought of this new space-time as a fabric weaving together space and time. In 1915, Einstein developed his theory of general relativity, which modified special relativity to include gravity and its effects on this fabric of space-time.
And the most important, I think, space-time, how concept explain करता is gravity, which actually Newtonan आमी म्हणटा discover केली, but he just discovered gravity आणि ताणे सांगले gravity खातीर अशें जाता, पण gravity कितें ते न्यूटनाक खबर नाशिल्ली.
Newton's Principia is such an engulfing work of genius that it almost makes up for one disconcerting fact.